I see everything, and I think about everything I see.
Have you gone too light for too
Are
long?
you like a therapist by trade, or is that
It's a history major.
a history major?
Yeah, we should invite the guests
Into
and
the
the
living
audience into our session here, our therapy session.
Get your earballs ready. Welcome to the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Here are your hosts, Greg and Tim.
So welcome to the Greg and Tim Show.
Welcome back to the show.
The show where I ask the serious questions and Greg asks all about the Mandela effect.
Do you know about the Mandela effect?
I don't think so.
Okay, well,
look
here we
forward to
go.
hearing
You don't want to. You
Here
don't
we
hear
go.
it. Anyway, before we get into that, which I hope we forget about, our next guest today is a man who saw a need in Winnipeg's North End nearly 40 years ago. It's been 4 decades, 1986, man. And decided to build a bridge instead of a wall. As a founder of the Inner City Youth Alive, he has dedicated his life to providing a safe haven, mentorship, and hope to thousands of young people. Recently honored, and I did not know this, as one of the most
I didn't either.
150 most influential Winnipeggers for Winnipeg's 150th anniversary. Did not know that. That's very impressive. Please say a very big welcome to a true community pioneer, Kent Dueck. Welcome here, Kent.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, that was a strong intro. I hope I can live up to the weight of that.
Well,
So I want to ask the first question here.
he
And-
always gets asked the first
No,
question.
I don't always
I don't
get
even
to
get a
ask the
chance.
first question.
Like, he does the intro, he does everything.
He has it all.
Then he asks, and then I'm just here to move the stuff around so that he can
Thank
ask
you
the
for moving it
questions.
around too. If we can get that up and then down a little bit there too. So I watched your documentary, which is awesome,
Okay.
by the way. It's called Absent. We're going to get into that
Before
in a little
we
bit.
get too far into the show and into the interview, people that haven't seen the documentary Absent,
Yeah.
it's linked below. And I know some people will only watch this for like 15, 20 minutes and they don't see the end, but Absent is linked below. Once you're done this episode, go and check out Absent because it is a fantastic documentary. Really well done.
Yeah, thank you.
And
Thanks for the plug.
it's absolutely very, very good. And I watched it earlier last week, and I kind of got into it, and I had all these questions about this documentary that you did a very good job of, by the way. But then I thought, man, that can't be all of what Kent Dueck is all about. And I didn't want to focus everything on that documentary, which we'll get into, but some of the other aspects of Kent Dueck. And we always ask this question, and maybe I'm going to ask it first this time.
Okay.
Oh,
But-
wow.
But outside of this documentary, outside of the work that you've done for 40 years, which is truly impressive, can you tell us a little bit about yourself separate from the entity that is Inner City Youth Alive?
Who is Kent Dueck?
Well, I mean, I grew up in a rural community, and I came to faith probably around when I was like 14 or 15, and then kind of spent a lot of time doing sports. I love sports, believe it or not. I am a volleyball player. That was my background. I'm a setter, 5'7". That's your lot
That's
in
your
life,
position.
to be a setter. And so Rosenorth's just kind of like a greenhouse experience. It's a very sheltered kind of community, wonderful people, and a great place to grow up. And so went on to study at Briarcrest Bible College for 4 years. I was thinking I would be a pastor, but it just didn't ever really hit for me. You know, I just,
You didn't have the right last name.
I guess with Dueck, I could have been a pastor. That would have been a
You
plus.
could have.
But
Here's a Dueck that's a pastor in Steinbach, I believe.
There's a few of us out there. So, but just that last name wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So when I was around 15 or 16, I sort of started developing a bit of a, I don't know, I guess now I could, in retrospect, say it was a calling. I knew early on that God had something for me to do around the inner city, around youth at risk, marginalized youth. And I wasn't sure, was it going to be a pastor, or was it going to be a social worker, or was it going to be neither, or was it going to be a little mix of both? And to this day, you know, I'm not sure exactly.
You're still figuring it out.
I still in an
Did you
identity
find
crisis.
you're all of those things on any given day? You're a social worker.
Yeah.
You're a pastor, you're a therapist, you're a friend, and you kind of have to use all the skills that you would use in those things.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like sort of whiplash. You know,
Yeah.
I can be in one moment I can be doing a presentation to some of Winnipeg's wealthiest people, and the next moment I'm, you know, deep into a very very difficult problem with people in our community who are struggling with poverty, and so it can be quite quite a range on a given day.
Yeah.
But I kind of like that, if I can be honest. I like our work in the sense that there's some interesting things that I get to learn about. Things like, trauma. Like if you're just doing sort of run of the mill youth pastor kind of work, you may not run into the complicated problems like gang related issues,
Yeah.
trauma, violence. Unfortunately or fortunately, I have become a little bit of a voice on the topic of violence in our province, and I think some of the complicating factors in the work for my brain, I kind of, not that I like those things. Those are terrible things to like,
Mhm.
but I find it interesting when you can kind of get a little deeper in understanding why somebody is maybe
Yeah.
living the way they live. So, is that to the heart of who Kent Dueck is? I think I have a lot of things going. I have a couple of businesses. We have 2 food trucks and we have some rental
Oh,
properties,
wow.
and I'm
You're a busy guy.
really busy, I guess, and I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm always thinking about how we can do something different or something new.
So being busy
And
is normal.
it's kind of normal, but if you do that to your organization, you will drive them nuts.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like you just had a vision, we're going to launch this thing, and then now we're doing the next thing. You have to
So
have
Andrew sent me a question. No, he's
my successor has questions, does he? No, it's sort of interesting where I find that my extracurricular stuff is a relief for the organization.
Mhm.
So then I kind of have a cadence where we hit the vision button for a while, and we kind of come together, and we always talk about gathering vision.
Yeah.
And it's not like from on high. I have an unbelievable team, and so then once we have that vision, then we all get in the harness and we pull in that direction.
Yeah.
And but then when I go home, I can be creating and get hands-on with things. And so I have a little bit of a theory on that.
Okay.
And I think that anybody in leadership should work with their hands just a little bit.
Oh, that's one of Tim's next questions, but we'll keep
Okay,
going.
all right. I guess I just
And I will ask that because I think it's kind of funny, but yeah. But I wanted to mention, actually, you said Rosenort. We were married in Rosenort at the Rosenort Fellowship Chapel. My wife put in a plug to say that she remembers your dad, very, very kind man, and had nothing but good ththings to say. So you would have been, I think, 8, 10, 11 around when he started. I believe he started that church, correct?
Yeah, timelines are I just know pre-marriage, post-marriage.
Right.
So exactly when that was, I know that my job on the building of that church was to collect the nails and bend them straight. So I
Collect the what?
Yeah, collect
nails.
all the nails that have been dropped around the footing and bend them straight. So we were a little on the poor side as a family. So I guess my dad needed those nails. But.
No, my question was, and you mentioned working with your hands. Is it
Yeah.
true that you started or you have done work as with wood? Woodworking is something you've done. So you kind of in the carpentry area.
Mhm.
You work with the inner city youth and help people.
Mhm.
And so I just wanted to know if you could turn that water into wine as well.
I couldn't. I'm not, and this is the point about working with your hands is that if you're a leader and you're just sort of in the kind of ethereal, you're in the theoretic zone all the time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then you can have sort of a false sense of self.
Yeah.
But if you work with your hands, the work always says no to you,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and you can't protest that. Like.
Yeah.
You start a project and you develop a crack in one of your laminations or something. Well, what are you going to do? Theorize about it? Like you have to.
You can't
you ha-
lead that crack away. You have to
Exactly.
fix it.
Yeah, and so I think that for me, working with my hands has been a way also to, kind of maybe get some of the hard things that we hear during the day out of my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we hear some things I'll just never unhear. I've seen
Mhm.
things I'll never unsee. And so a lot of my life is, if you're going to delve into the work we do,
Yeah.
you have to have an outlet. And Sister Bernadette from Rossbrook House said something to me early on. She said, if you're going to do this work, then you better find beauty somewhere.
Right.
Mhm.
Because the work can be so hard and dark and sad.
Yeah.
and so when you create something, then you're kind of creating something that is beautiful to the eye, and you had your hands on it, and you're able to, be sort of distracted and also, tested.
Yeah.
Like, how do you handle when things go wrong?
Right. Like you had mentioned, like for 40 years, working with the inner city, it can be very taxing at times. And that was one of my questions. Like, what do you do to maybe not take the edge off, but maybe decompress? So you'd say woodworking, creating something, getting away from it tends to do that for you.
Yeah, I think it's important to, to have outlets. And so yeah, all of those things are my outlets. And then I have really good friends. And I have two groups that I'm very close to, and I kind of I have one group that we've been having breakfast for like 25 years every Friday morning. Those guys are like my pallbearers. Like,
Every Friday morning?
every Friday morning. Now,
Wow.
we have some, attendance issues on,
Yeah.
from time to time, but it's a group of there's 6 of us, and we have been through hell and high water together.
Okay.
And so I call those guys my pallbearers. They've carried me through life, and hopefully they won't have that role for a long time. But
Yeah.
and then I have another group of guys. There's 6 families that we're very close with, and so it's my friends that kind of check in on me and kind of do you need somebody in your life who says, "Hey, you're not okay."
Mhm.
And my friends will sometimes, call me out and say, "You're not doing good."
It's very cool that you say something like that, because we've talked about that a lot on the show here. Is, guys don't really get outlets a lot. Like, we do a men's breakfast once a month on Sundays, or on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
And every Saturday morning it could be between 8 guys and 15 guys,
Mhm.
depending on who comes out, and it's always different people, but we put out the invite to everybody. Do you think that that's something that's missed in culture these days, where men don't hang out with other men to actually check in on each other?
I just know that that people who hear about our group are like, "Where can I sign up for that?"
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that men are hurting.
Mhm.
Young, like, boys are hurting, and so I think there's a loneliness crisis, and I think um, men are asked to just be anchors and a wall of strength,
Mhm.
and life is hard,
Yeah.
and so you have to have people you can talk to, and so you can admit, I'm at my wit's end, and so yeah, I
Yeah.
think if that's the focus of this show, that's right on the money.
Yeah, we talked
Men need
about it a little
help.
bit for the show, for
Yeah.
sure, and it's just something that we've focused on just in our own personal lives as well, right? So it is lost a lot of the time. So it's great that our church is recently, doing more men's conferences, men's groups, men's breakfasts, that type of thing, and it really helps you realize that, there's other men out there that go through things. So.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah, for sure. So, we know who Kent Dueck is, and now that we've already found out that you do a little bit of woodworking, what is something else that nobody really, unless it's those six guys at the coffee shop, what is something we wouldn't know about Kent Dueck?
Well, this is the part where we go deep.
You can go deep, you can go shallow, you can go funny, whatever you prefer.
Only
Oh.
those 3.
Yeah.
You can't go intellectual.
Okay.
Or intellectual.
Well, I would say that when you're kind of in leadership, and you're asked to hold a certain role in your organization, people often will look at you and think, he's got everything figured out. Like,
Mhm.
he's, you're supposed to present like you're solid all the time, right?
Yeah.
And I would say that I have struggled with my faith over the years, and nobody, well, the people that are close to me know that, and now, just, for your assurance, I'm
Mhm.
fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But I think that the problem of evil, when you are in it a lot,
Mhm.
when you see kind of the darkest of the dark,
Yep.
then you start to have moments where you're like, God, where are you?
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a moment years ago where I was helping an 18-year-old make a decision about life support on his 16-year-old daughter who died by suicide.
Mm.
And I did the funeral, and I can remember being at the graveside, and there's just basically kids all around, like
Yeah.
no adults to help these kids. And I was supposed to pray, and I somehow lost my composure, and it kind of turned into a, God, where are you, Lord? Can't you see what these kids are going through?
Yeah.
And so it can get really, like you have to ask, where is God in all this? But I resolve that. I mean,
Yep.
I read a lot of books around suffering and around, God and suffering and doubt and faith. And I would say that my faith has never been stronger, but I've always had to do the work. I've always had to kind of read along those lines. And
Well, you touch on kind of the age-old question, why does God allow bad things to happen?
yeah,
And too often I find that people will say, well, his ways are higher, which doesn't ever answer the question. And I find sometimes the only answer that suffices is, well, I don't know. But even that sometimes doesn't really have a good answer to it either. Do you find, like you said, well, I've resolved this. Like I now know
It's final, isn't
100% sure why God allows bad things to happen. Do you find that's an intellectual relief or an intellectual thought, or is that something you feel like I am secure? I have peace about this. Like how do, when you say I've
resolve.
resolved, what
So
does that
final.
even, what does that even mean?
That's an excellent question. I think I've had moments in the last 15 years where I felt like just like at a breaking point, where I'm just about when I was in my 40s, I used to have night terrors when I was a kid growing up, and when those night terrors would hit, I was just catatonic. I was I
Mhm.
couldn't be consoled. They went away when I was around 21, and then they came back in my 40s, and during that season, it was like just I was losing 3 to 5 nights a week of sleep, just night terrors. And it's probably related to a lot of the trauma that I've seen. And so during that time, that was a real like pressing in kind of time where I'm like, God, I need you. I'm desperate,
Yeah.
Like sometimes you can talk about a topic and you're a little too far away from it.
Yeah.
But when you get a little closer, when it's real for you, then you're forced to, it really. I think I was just during that season, I was just broken. God just broke me. And I took about 3 months off. My doctor did a blood work, and he said your cortisol level is triple normal. It's as if somebody is chasing you with an axe all the time.
Mm.
So I thought that was very kind of from this perspective interesting. Now, like the stress
Startling then.
the stress of what we were walking with in the community, and maybe unresolved past stress. I don't know. So I really had to go deep, and I basically went through my own dark night of the soul, so to speak, and it was like feeling like God, like I'm ruined forever.
Mhm.
I'll never recover, and that was the struggle of that time. But I just did the hard work. I went for counseling. I prayed a lot. I tried to read God's word. It was hard, but it was such a beautiful turnaround, and it got me asking other people who have been through hard times, like when you're at your worst,
Yeah.
you cannot envision being better. You cannot
Mhm.
envision getting through. And then at some point, you watch people who maybe lost a loved one, or they kind of come to a place where they've recovered.
Mhm.
So that's kind of interesting, but we're never really interested in that in the middle part,
Mhm.
right? And so what I started doing after my recovery through that season is asking people whether the path from really broken to restored and strong, whether it was a predictable path. Nobody's ever said yes.
Mhm.
So you kind of touched on, Tim, the idea of there's mystery in how God brings healing, and you want to be in control of it, But if you can kind of, rather than push against those hard times, kind of, you just have to submit and lean into it and allow that season to kind of move you. And it's very hard to know how the story will end.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But God, yeah, like I just feel, my faith has never been stronger. And obviously I'm not saying I've arrived,
Yeah.
which was your good little dig you took at me there. Good point. No, it's a work in process still, but there's something that after that season anchored so deep in me that my faith it's real, and God is a healer, and God is faithful, and God doesn't abandon us, especially in the darkest moments. It
Mhm.
seems like that's God is always, drawn to bring light into those
Right.
dark
And
spaces.
the question sometimes is someone the way they are in as far as greatness, I'll use that word, maybe it's the wrong word, because of a struggle or in spite of struggles, right? I've watched a few documentaries of people that did great things, and you're like, man, I wish I was that person. And you're like, you totally discount all the things that they went through. It's like, no, I don't want to be that person, because they discount what it took for them to do what they're doing.
Yeah, the road to greatness doesn't sort of start by, you just take it, seize it.
Mhm.
No, it comes through suffering, and it comes through hardship.
Yeah.
And if you can allow those seasons to make you better and not bitter,
Yeah.
then something can emerge. And that's the other thing, is that what emerges is something better than you could have imagined if
Yeah.
you can just stay past the pain. And that's kind of one of our taglines at Inner City Youth Alive, is that a lot of times staff are going through hard things, and it's tempting when it's hardest. That's when you want to cut and run.
Mhm.
But I heard one guy talk about the fact that your dream's slipping away, and you see kind of setting like the sun in the western sky. Is it in the west? Does it set in the west? I'm
Yep.
having a moment.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So and so your temptation is to run towards that thing you're
Yeah.
losing, but the wisest thing is to run into the darkness, to the east, because that's where it's going to rise again anyways.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, I don't know. It's
So your this joke came to my mind, and I'll lighten something
good.
up for a
Thank you for
second here.
lightening it up.
You forgot where the dawn was there for a second,
Yes,
and then it dawned on you.
it did. And we are all dads, I can tell.
That we have a joke of the day calendar at work.
Uh-huh.
So it's a dad joke of the day calendar, and that was one
Brilliant.
of the jokes. Is I forgot where the sun set, and then it dawned on me.
Oh,
Oh no.
this
No,
is so good.
I did not
This
see
is
that
so
coming.
good.
You didn't see the sun coming?
No, I didn't
Comes up
see
every
I
day.
didn't see the part that I missed the joke anyway. Question
Oh,
I had.
you got another one? Okay.
So you
So I'm just gonna go in the. No, just-
that'd be fun. Yeah.
We need those jokes. They're
Yeah.
really
we,
helpful.
we touched on a couple of things that you kind of touched on.
Yeah.
One is a balance, the idea of balance in like we
That
need
was
to
going to be my question.
we need to balance things in
It's okay, you
our
can
home
take it, though.
life, with our work life,
Yeah.
with our social life, and that seemed like that seems to be the structure of what people would say in the last 10, 15 years. Whereas recently, I've heard people suggest that to be unbalanced, and no one did anything amazing without being unbalanced. Because when you balance everything, you become mediocre at everything. Do you believe in a balance in your life when you do your work with Inner City? Or do you think that, no, there is going to be imbalance for me to get this job, which I think I'm called for, which I'm assuming
I feel
They-
called
they
to it.
called for-
Yeah.
do you think that there's no such thing as balance?
I mean, this is the part where I get real here. Like work-life balance. When you founded something, and at the beginning it's like 37 days without a day off, and all of the days were 12 to 16-hour days. I didn't put my daughter to bed for 3 years when she was first born, and my wife was just so supportive, and all's well with my kids. We have
Mhm.
really good relationships. But if you want to be mediocre and chug along and be dutiful, then do nothing in extreme. But if you want to, if you're going to do something great, then you have to count the cost. And I don't want to sound like a televangelist here, like pumping the go harder, go deeper. I'm not saying that, because you do have to have balance.
Mhm.
But I don't know that we get that right, because I think people get really, monomaniacal about it. They're just like, okay, it's just this way. It's one simple way, 8 hours, I check out. What happens if a kid is having a crisis and you have to be there?
Mhm.
Or I get a call sometimes, at after midnight, and it's somebody, talking suicidal, and so you can't think that way.
Mhm.
You kind of have to. I use kind of like an attack retreat approach. So I'll sometimes, we're in an intense season, and I'll just hit it hard, work really hard, and and then I'll kind of have to step back and retreat to regather and to think through, God, what do you want me to do? Where do I need to change my focus?
Yep.
And so that's been that attack retreat cadence has worked for me. And then back to my crew and my wife, who will sometimes say, "Hey, you're out of balance.
Mhm.
You're not," and that's where I think we need community, and we got to negotiate our work-life balance in community. I
And your
think.
balance will be a little bit different than other people's balance, whereas you've got to come back to balance, as opposed to some people work really hard to balance work life, whereas you can probably go from one extreme of like, I gotta work, I gotta get this done, I gotta get this, and then like you said, your wife will bring you back to balance, where you will come down a little bit to meet her where she's at that time. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and I think that it has a cadence over life. It can change. When your kids are young,
Mhm.
like those early years of founding, I have regrets that I didn't spend more time at home. But our family has a very, like, we keep it raw. Like, we really talk straight up with each other. And so I'm thankful that I didn't lose, I didn't save those kids in the North End and lose my kids.
Yeah.
And so when the kids are younger, I drove them to dance, and I coached my son in soccer, right till he was 18, and spent lots of time with them. And then while doing my grad studies, so sometimes I'd be like, getting up at 3 in the morning to get started
Mhm.
on some reading I had to do, and then I have a meeting, and then I'd have to coach my son in a game in the evening. So
Yeah.
you try to. So those are really crazy seasons, and right now I'm in a different season where it's an empty nest, and
Yeah.
so now I feel like I can approach things differently. But I'm actually I don't want to go as intense as I went when I was younger. I want to more help my team succeed, and I want to be more of a coach and a teacher.
You're
More
you're
more
advisor,
intentional.
overseer, building for the next generation,
Yeah,
making sure the organization is secure going forward, kind of thing.
whatever I can do to help them win.
So it's
As
more intentional as
Yeah.
opposed to intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that is there's a theory. It's out of business, but it's called active inertia, where you can see a thing you want to run at, and if you don't hold yourself back, then you're in your action, you become inert. So there's when I was younger, I might have had a temptation to run at certain things,
Yeah.
and that can be good.
Yeah.
But now I want to be more about measured action. I want to make sure that what I work on, I can see it through, that it's the right thing to work on.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that's kind of
You
how I'm
you're
trying to
counting the
approach it.
cost
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
in everything you
I'm not
do.
getting any younger. I'm 60.
What year are you
Well,
on your wedding? What's the year this
Oh,
year?
man.
I'm testing you. The question was from your wife. And then second question is, how old are your kids? And
Can I call a friend?
Yeah,
What are the six?
I assumed you knew.
I think we're at
I was
36 years.
okay.
Married in
36 years.
1989.
And
I know I'm right.
And how many kids do you?
We have 3 kids. 3 kids. Jill is married to Ty, and they're in Australia. She works as a family violence specialist. Well, now she's a mom.
Yeah.
I'm a grandpa. Just a year ago. So,
Well, congratulations.
That's your first.
that's my first. Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations.
So,
yeah,
thank
that's
you.
great.
And then I have a daughter, Madison, who is 26, I think. No, she's 28. I hope she's not going to listen. I guarantee she won't.
I got my kids' age
He's
wrong the other
guaranteed she
weekend as
won't
well.
listen.
So she works in film, and her and her husband both work in that kind of field.
Okay.
And then I have a younger son who is working as an architect. So, and
The other two are here in Winnipeg.
the other 2 are here in Winnipeg. So that's nice.
Did Madison help you with the documentary?
She did.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. She was production manager on just coordinating all the sets and all the scenes and all she did all the background work, and it was really helpful.
Yeah.
I was the executive producer on that. I didn't even know what that meant until I got into it.
It means you got a paycheck. Or maybe not. I don't know.
No, I didn't. There was no paycheck.
I want to dive a little bit into the documentary, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I want to chat about that because we have a lot of questions about it, but we probably won't get to all of them. It's
That's
just
fine.
more so to find your heart behind the documentary, but also to dive into kind of what we can do as a community to help that out as well. So the first question is, it's not really doesn't have like a solution at the end. I can say that like we could just go, oh, we can do this and that'll work.
Mhm.
So what right now in your mind is something that you could do today if you were the premier of the province and you were to be able to wave your magic wand today? What is one thing you'd be able to do to change everything there?
Great question and good insight. The point of the documentary was to seed the possibility of a solution. So in our 5-year
Mhm.
plan, where we looked at possibly focusing in on schools that have a high concentration of the problem, and outreach workers who could reach out to those kids, that was kind of an intro to one possible solution.
Like where the money goes,
Where the
and
money
we can
goes.
invest
Yeah.
differently. Yeah.
So I'm going to be meeting with the province, with the Minister of Education in March, and that's what I'm going to bring to her. Is that there are funds available if we can recognize that certain schools have special sort of needs.
Mhm.
So if a school has a high level of absenteeism, and then suddenly you've lost 70% of your student body, and that's one of the best case scenarios in the schools that we were looking at with high concentration. It's even higher than that in some schools.
Yeah.
But I wanted to put something, even that in the documentary, I know was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have really good sources, and
And the tough part about that too is that the province didn't really help in your research of this.
no,
So for the people that don't know and haven't watched the documentary yet, it's about absenteeism here in Winnipeg.
Mhm.
And it's about how it starts at a certain number. You had the schools at 350 and then down to 100 at certain points. And then when you toured the school, it was down to 30 students that you could find in that school. And it's reflective on
pretty big claim. I'm
Yeah.
making, right?
Exactly. And without having the numbers from the school or from the province, you're making that claim based on visuals and based on what you've been hearing around the schools. This is a primarily North End problem. If I
We've
know
had
correctly.
quite a bit of communication with some northern communities where there's big
Mhm.
problems as well.
Okay.
But I'm hoping that we can stop having the veracity of the numbers discussion,
Yeah.
because that's been a challenge for 10 years.
Right.
I've been working at this, and every government is sort of denial and a little pat on the head and like, thanks for pointing it out, but that's not quite right. And then the numbers I know they're right.
Hmm.
And so, but it's been a challenge. That's been a surprise.
Yeah.
So what could they do? They could just say, acknowledge. Okay. Again, after the documentary, I've talked to so many administrators, and the thing, every single one of them, even the ones that didn't like that we did it, said one thing's for sure: you're right about the numbers. And so I hope that the province can, start by just acknowledging we have a big problem. And the point of the documentary was sort of kind of tied to, because you asked a question like, what was the heart of why?
Yeah.
And so the heart was, I'm going to get biblical on you.
all
Ready?
good.
Are we
Yeah.
ready?
We're ready.
The Old
Can you
Testament.
cross-reference this?
I got to put my seatbelt on.
Yeah. Okay. So in the Old Testament, often what the prophets would say to the kings, they would say, "You've forgotten the poor, you've forgotten the widow, you've forgotten the orphan," right? And so what can happen when this situation, you're working on this challenge of getting kids educated, getting kids to school.
Yeah.
I'm human. I was angry. I was getting to the point of angry. Like 5 years in, nothing happening.
Yeah.
We're just playing around. We had early on, we had a task force, a provincial task force. I served on that. We got next to nothing done.
Yeah.
And that was under the other government.
Under the Conservative government. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the Conservative government, to their credit, has been more active than the NDP. But that's try to be a little nonpartisan here, because we want everybody to work on this. But so we just need to acknowledge that the problem is real, and then we need to get onto solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm hoping. Throughout the process, I kept saying we need honesty with impunity. Like, everybody's afraid to tell the truth about this.
Yeah.
And so we thought about, okay, you're angry. You could just flip some tables, and you could view the documentary as me just poking a bear in the eye, right?
But you kind of did.
We definitely did. Yeah, I've had threats.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had threats. And
Why? If you're trying to expose something like, you say, all these kids are missing school, who's upset?
Well, people within the system that are responsible for this.
Yeah.
And there's been a common sort of rejoinder that I've heard. Like, I've been tracking people's pushback, weirdly, on a Word document, just kind of going like, how are people acting? And a lot of what we hear is basically it's shame.
Yeah.
Can't you see we're doing our best?
Yeah.
Can't you see this is really hard? And why are you making us look bad when we're trying our best?
Yeah.
And I think that's been, I had to sit with that and say, fair enough. But I think that line is actually what's got government sort of stuck, is because them saying, how is it that an outsider like myself and Sel blew the whistle on this and not somebody from the inside? Well, I think it was in staff meetings where they would sit around and go like, where are the kids? And people would say, well, this is tough, like, we're trying our best. Like, what else are we going to do?
Yeah.
That is what I think got us stuck. So if you study change theory, one of the things is you have to create a sense of urgency. So that's what the goal of the documentary was. It was to say, motivated not by our anger, but motivated by the well-being of kids we love in the community, saying we want what's best for them.
Yeah.
So tamp down the anger and just shine a light on this thing. And then create that sense of urgency, which I thought we did.
Yeah.
In the first round, when it first hit, it was just crazy in the media. I was just flooded with interviews, but it wasn't enough, because the other thing about change theory is that the moment you think you've got it, you hit that change, then the old sort of habits start to come back, and they tend.
Plus, the media all of a sudden focuses on something else. They forget about the current. They're very much what is
on
new
to the next
here, right?
topic.
And that, I'm sure, can be a challenge. And talking about, as far as people saying they're doing the best they can, we have a mutual friend that's a teacher, and she works in the inner city. And what she'll say is, listen, I can't even go into some of these homes. Half the kids are in care. CFS won't work with me. I can't do it even if I wanted to. You have other groups of people like social workers and say, I have 8 cases on my desk I haven't had time to do, and I don't have time to get these kids into school, and so on and so forth, where I suppose you could say, well, everyone's passing the buck, but I mean, aren't they legitimately passing the buck? Maybe some of their concerns are valid.
100%. If somebody has 24 kids registered and 12 attend, that teacher still has to teach those 12 kids. So I have empathy for that. But we're talking about the scale of this problem, where there's one school, and I don't want to name school names just for the record, but where there's points in the year when they have more cars in the parking lot than students in the school.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where, again, the model as we see it now, we will just persist, because your teacher friend is right. She has an obligation to those kids in her class. And so that's why you have to think about kind of a different outreach strategy. And I would argue the funding is there.
Yeah.
Like if schools would say, so a school that's struggling, they would say, okay, we're going to have X number of teachers and we're going to budget for attrition. We're going to budget for the fact that we know kids will drop off. And so we're going to have a whole outreach team that will reach out. So that is, I touch on that in the documentary, and that's, to your question, Greg, that's my hope. My hope is that the province says, okay, we're going to act on these ideas, and we're going to change the way we think about it.
Yeah. So what about educators, trustees that are saying schools can't fix what's happening at home? It's this is a product of their environment. This isn't a product of what we're doing in the schools. How do you view that statement?
Well, I agree to a certain degree, but the one example I've been kind of thinking about is that, can you imagine if we had ambulances going around the community picking up people that were been maybe overdosed or hurt or injured, or and there was no hospital to drop them at? Like you have this divide now. You have community agencies, and to be honest, we're kind of the only group that's really working on this. CETA to a degree as well, but it's
That's
more
Inner
after
City Youth
school
Alive
programs.
itself.
Our Engage Education program.
Yeah.
So all we need is a symbiotic relationship between, if we're doing outreach, the school has to be willing to take the kids. Otherwise, we can run around in the community. But if they're just saying, it's not a problem, it's out of our purview, we don't know how to influence it, then we can't create this relationship between the community and the school. But
that was one of the things in the documentary, where some students were being brought to school and they were being turned away because they weren't registered or they weren't in that school.
You hear a wide variety. Like, you hear those kinds of weird stories where it's like, is that really happening? And then you also hear some schools that do go the second mile, but it doesn't seem to be that there's a standard sort of approach to it. So, a kid all of a sudden shows up in December and there's no way to sort of, get them on the on-ramp.
Yeah.
And so, but I think too, it's a wicked problem. It's like such a big problem. And what we needed at the beginning was schools. Like, if you don't have schools buying in and saying, yes, it's a problem, and no, we have not succeeded at solving this problem, which they barely say. But it's starting to happen now.
Yeah.
You have that. You need that to begin with. Otherwise, all the work you do out in the community is pointless. But then you do have to look at, how does Child and Family Services work with families, and how does Employment Income Assistance, welfare, how do they work with families who register for welfare? Maybe they've moved in from out of town.
Yeah.
Could they help them to find a school and make that sort of contingent upon their getting their check? We have to, think outside the box.
My mom worked in Child and Family Services with the welfare system, and there were different things that they had to have in place in order to receive their checks. But it feels like those safeguards have slowly deteriorated, and they're not there anymore. She doesn't work in the system anymore, so I wouldn't be able to even ask anymore. But just by the feeling, it feels like it's now just being given as opposed to being earned.
Yeah, I just got a question about that today about child tax.
Mm-hmm.
Whether somebody was telling me that they'd heard about a situation where child tax had been withheld due to kids not attending.
Mm-hmm.
First, I'd heard of that.
Yeah.
But my wife and I went to a township in South Africa, in Cape Town, and saw what they were doing in that township. Is people who were on welfare were given additional funding if they were successfully getting their kids to school.
Yeah.
So funding was kind of there was a base funding,
Yeah.
and then you'd get the plus. So that was a positive way of using that. But
Yeah.
all of this is all fraught.
Yeah.
But I've been doing the thought experiment of what happens if we do nothing. What happens if we continue to do what we're doing now?
Mm-hmm.
So then the weight of that becomes a little bit of a motivator where it's like, do we want to set up a society where 70% of kids in the North End are not educated?
Well,
Or
and
how
then
do
the
we
burden
live in that
becomes
world?
the money burden, where you guys broke that down really well. And it was kind of like my aha moment. I was watching with my wife and we are talking about it. I'm like, if these kids had enough of an education to go and make $35,000 a year and to pay the tax on that, which is very minimal because you're not in a higher tax bracket. But those kids now, the money that the school's paying for those kids to go to school is getting brought back tenfold
Oh, yeah.
on the taxes because they're working. But the other thing I was thinking to myself, and this is the light bulb that went off in my head, is we could tax less if we had more people that goes through the school system, because the more people that are in the workforce in terms of men,
Yes,
women,
yes.
we could tax less, which could also, this was the big thing, women could stay home with their children
Mhm.
and take care of their children, and men would get taxed less on their income, or women, whoever's the
Mhm.
person that's going to be taking the kids on a daily basis. It's a cycle that could become fixed, providing that you fix the first part, and it's all steps.
That's brilliant. And if we could think like that, then we could think beyond a 4-year political cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Because then we could say, okay, we're all understanding the knock-on effects of getting kids fully engaged in school. We're understanding this is something we're buy and hold investors. We're not day traders.
Yeah.
We understand that in 10 years from now, this is going to make a huge difference in the tax base.
Yeah.
And that sort of halo effect of investing in that. So, I would say maybe Inner City Youth Alive believes in education more than anyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's, ambitious claim, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying we really believe in what teachers do and
Yeah.
what schools, the important role they play. And so we just have to get everybody on board.
Yeah, and you would be one to say we want to work with you, and the tendency is to say, well, it can't be done. You're aiming too high. There's this reason, that reason, every other reason why it can't be done. And you would say, well, you know what? Even if we save one,
Mm-hmm.
it's worth it. The story in the Bible where the lost sheep, he goes after the one, and
Yes, yeah.
you don't just forego that one and let that sheep go, right? Even
Yeah.
if it's for that one. I had a pushback question for you.
Do it.
That I thought of the other day. It's like, I just completely blanked.
I can ask
blanked.
mine then.
You start with yours.
Keep
I'll
pushing
remember
back.
mine.
I'm
You've
loving
worked
it.
with
Okay.
political parties all across. Like
Uh-huh.
on this side of the aisle, that side of the aisle. You've worked with both political parties, but none have really acted effectively. What point do you think that you're carrying, like what point does it become a failure of leadership as opposed to a failure of a political party?
You mean in terms of which leadership are you referring to?
The
Just to
leadership
get-
of the parties themselves, because you have the PC party
Mhm.
who tried, you have the NDP party who tried.
First of all,
It could
just
be
clarify
just a-
what he's saying. Have they tried?
Well, they have a catchy slogan: "Reach up and reach out," something like that.
Yeah,
And I'm going to find out what
got
that
milk
means.
is a catchy slogan too, but it doesn't mean it's
so
good for
good.
A spirit energy. I like
So-
that one.
Yeah, there's
you.
been
Made
a lot
from
of
what's
good.
real.
If they were getting paid for good rhetoric, man, They make so much money at these. Reach up, reach out. So it's the jury's out on the NDP whether they're going to be acting
Mm-hmm.
in a good way. The Conservative Party, to their credit, worked on it, but
COVID didn't help.
COVID didn't help. And yeah, they did a marketing campaign for 100,000. They did a research campaign. Some guy out of Vancouver did research, and
Mm-hmm.
I was a part of that task force. And the research was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is like study it, and do nothing.
Well, you
And,
run out of time
Mm-hmm.
because you only have 4 years.
And it's a wicked problem. You really wish. I know any government is just wishing I would not bring this up again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can feel that, but
Government, how long have the NDP been? Now it's 2 years. The
Mhm.
NDP have been in power for the province. They've been in power for 2 years. They have 1 year left before it becomes election time,
Yeah.
where they start just gearing up for election and making their promises. When you look at it, all said and done, you have about 2.5 years to get work done. What kind of work can you get done in 2.5 years if you don't get reelected?
yeah, there's some. They're waiting that, I'm sure, and
Mhm.
saying, what happens if we try and fail? And it's a short cycle now. I wish they'd started right at the beginning. I wish we'd had buy-in at the beginning of this political cycle.
Mhm.
But
Because things always move very quickly in the political system.
they sure do. They sure do. And I was kind of asked to keep my mouth shut in the media in exchange for them telling the truth. I mean, I don't think we can pin this problem on a leader.
Mhm.
We have so many problems. I've been kind of cataloging as my daily read through the media. We have emergency rooms where there's violence, and we're having to gray list hospitals. We have buses that don't run on schedule, and we have buses where there's violence on the buses, and then we have schools that have seen a 332% increase in violence in the classroom. We have so many wicked problems,
Mhm.
and I think that's kind of people are kind of working on problems they feel they can show their success.
Yeah.
And so although I don't want to let political parties off the hook, I think if they can rethink funding,
Yeah.
whoever does that first, I've thought about this inside and out. I don't see any way around this. If we can't rethink the way we're funding schools, and if we can't factor in a big outreach strategy, I'm afraid we better build a society that allows for people to not be educated then. And I
Yeah.
really don't want that. And so, yeah, I think it's hard to pin it on one leader, that there's one person that's going to come to save us.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be everybody buying in.
So staying on the political spectrum, this is the question I had forgotten there earlier.
Here we go.
Typically, political parties, especially what was mentioned 2.5 year cycle, are always thinking about pretty much one thing: getting reelected, which means they're looking for votes. And they're not always caring about what Kent Dueck has to say, but if they see a large grouping of people who are behind Kent Dueck, that's votes for them. So my question is, if you have nothing you don't live in the inner city, you live in the suburbia,
Yeah,
which
sure.
is the typical.
The inner city lives in me.
Yeah,
is what I
but-
say. I don't even know what that
but
means.
90%,
but I say.
but 90% of the population will live in Transcona, or they'll live in River Heights. They're not
Uh-huh.
in the inner city. Their kids go to maybe an over-sheltered school setting,
Mhm.
and they're kind of detached from that. So my question is, a family like that, why should they care about something that doesn't seem to touch their life?
That's an excellent question. I mean, I think we have to kind of widen our view of what a community is. And I think we do think very much like, the North End is kind of like, well, that's the North End. That's a world, worlds away from me. But when we see some of the kind of the outworking of those social problems, at some point, issues like this are going to be everybody's business.
Mhm.
I mean, we worked at homelessness with End Homelessness Now. Their efforts, they poured in for a solid year. They did their inventory. They had 1,500 people that they counted. A year later, after really breaking their backs to do the best they could. They had 2,500 people that were homeless. So I feel like we have to, like, if we're asking politicians to have a longer view, we need to ask families to kind of widen their view as well, and to say, okay, are we just worried about getting our kids to dance and getting them to their activities, and we're not thinking about that kid who really has no one in their corner? And the answer to that is, I think families are thinking about that. We have had such incredible support from Winnipeggers, across the board, and it speaks to the fact that families do care. And I think that, that kind of Spock logic around politics, where it's just like, X number of votes, okay, I'll focus this much energy. That's a thing. But I think we have to kind of get a little bigger than that. And because I feel like the poor are often just pawns in a giant game of power. And the poor are used to being acted upon. And so sometimes they'll just accept their lot. And so it's so sad to watch families where they've just said, okay, this is our life. And we need families from the suburbs to have a wider view of their city, and to be thinking about these things. And if they're people of faith, you don't get to walk away from the Jesus manifesto. That Luke 4 passage that talks about Jesus came for the oppressed, sight to the blind, freedom to the oppressed. And so Jesus didn't declare that was going to be his mission and then make good on it so that we didn't have to. He did it as a hint that if you're going to live out your faith and be real and care, then somehow the poor have to be in your sight, in your view.
What if somebody is part of the 95% people that don't believe in Jesus?
That's a fake number, by the way.
I think he made that number up.
Yeah.
Can we check the source on that?
It's not far off.
Well,
56% of Manitobans actually identify as being Christian.
okay.
So it's a larger number than you think.
Now, I mean, there's a great book by Glenn Scrivener called The Air We Breathe, and it talks about the effect of the Judeo-Christian value set in our whole society around justice and equality and all of these things. So even somebody that has no faith, they have a wiring to care. And if they care, they care based on a set of standards that Jesus laid down. Because there's kind of a saying from the old country where it's the tears of a stranger are only water. If you have an atheist worldview and faith doesn't matter to you, then why would you care? But people, I see it to the point that we have had to do a document that says, it's about, if you're an atheist, what does it mean to support a Christian organization? Because we've had so many people who are atheists who are willing to support us. And one who said, I could give a blank about your faith.
Right.
You guys do good work.
Yeah.
So I think that
that's the nice thing about the name Inner City Youth Alive, is that you can attract people from all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, our faith drives us, and we're never shy about that.
No.
And but I think there too, Tim, maybe the revolution is that it's time to have this discussion.
Right.
It's time to have that discussion. Here we are in a secular society, and we've done the separation of church and state, but it's time to say, what do faith-based groups, how do they speak into this cultural moment? If you think about the poor in our city, Salvation Army, Siloam Mission, Union Gospel Mission, Inner City, Springs Inner City, Church of the Rock,
YFC.
Inner City Youth Alive, YFC. You know what? Hospitals. You can check me on this, but to my knowledge, there is not a single hospital in our city that was not founded because of Christians. And so it's time to discuss, how do we walk in this cultural moment, and how do we talk about the fact that if we don't have that Judeo-Christian value, if that's not sort of, if we don't value that, then there's really not much of a case to make for caring for the poor.
Yeah.
And so I don't even know if I'm answering your question, Tim.
The one thing that our pastor always said about churches is that they were hospitals. Like, churches aren't built for people that are perfect. They're not built for people that are whole. They're not built for people that don't need help. And churches were built that way as hospitals. And then Christians started building hospitals. And a lot of the time, these different entities in cities were founded by Christian organizations, whether it be hospitals, whether it be outreach, whether it be youth groups. All of those things were founded, and us as Christians were called to help people. And then it kind of got muddied a little bit with the government, because now the government has taken over the responsibility of funding these places and taking care of these places, whereas back in the day, the church used to fund and take care of all these places. The other thing, too, is separating the church from the schools. I grew up, we had the Lord's Prayer every morning.
Me too.
In my school.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And then I vividly remember, like, oh, this year we're not doing the Lord's Prayer. It was weird to me that we weren't doing the Lord's Prayer anymore. But it keeps being pulled away more and more. Like, the Christian values is being taken out of everything. And whereas, like, who knows, like, what's it like in a hospital these days? Is there a place of worship in hospitals anymore where they actually have somebody on staff that will pastor you in a hospital? I don't know if it's like that anymore.
I think there's pretty strong chaplaincy programs to my knowledge, but I think, like, if kind of your whole build up, my question would be, so how is this going?
Yeah.
How are we doing as a society? And I think
by removing,
well, every indicator is we're doing horribly. I asked somebody today I was sitting with for 3 hours. I asked them, so have we reached peak insanity? And he didn't think so.
We still ways to go.
I wasn't referring to, like, him and I. Have we reached peak insanity?
Yeah.
No,
and you spoke with him for 3 hours, right? So
maybe I had.
We got 2 hours left, Tim.
Well, yeah. When I think about this cultural moment, right? So it can be discouraging. We talk about, I touched on crime, and I touched on, the absenteeism problem, and all these problems, right?
Yeah.
So I think things kind of get darkest before the light.
Yeah.
And I feel like what we're sure of, I mean, I'm pretty dogmatic about this. The new atheist sort of movement, the materialist view of the world, that we're nothing but, bones walking about and just, bundle of atoms. And no, we're seeing that worldview has taken us to a terrible place.
Yeah.
And that's why my theory is that's why atheists seem to be interested in sort of our work. Now, I'm not saying that across the board. Some are not, obviously.
Yeah.
But I've never felt this before.
Yeah.
Have you felt a revival of sorts?
Do you find it this is what we found post-COVID, where people started taking stock of their life, taking stock of what mattered, and it seemed to be people kind of went back to some of the roots of either them or their family, where they reconsidered either Christianity, religion of some sort, or even just took stock of making a difference. Is that something you found?
Yeah, I think, again, to sort of map back onto my story about kind of coming to a point of being broken earlier in my career, I think as a society, that can be something that's instrumental in changing things too, where as a society, we're reaching a breaking point. I feel, I don't want to be too pessimistic, but I feel that we're reaching a breaking point, and we've tried to write God out of our stories. We've tried to say that, we're the, the architects of our future. I am God. I create my own reality and my own. It's kind of applied postmodernism. Whatever I believe is true, and we've tried this, and it is going terrible. And so I think people are back to, and COVID would have been a part of that sort of that breaking process.
Hmm.
And I feel like people are really in a new way saying, I need something deeper. And
Yeah.
so
So, with all that being said, everything going on in the world, the wickedness, what
mhm.
gives you hope right now?
um well, I would say about 5 years ago, I was at peak sort of darkness. And I don't want to give the impression that I'm a pretty upbeat person, but I was
Hmm.
very discouraged by the direction that we were heading. And I think what gives me hope right now is just this anecdotes, the stories I hear, and what I'm seeing, where people that have kind of always been a bit closed off are seem to be more open to considering, maybe there's more to life than just, we live, we die, and that's
Hmm.
it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so I am seeing I'm seeing more of that in funny places, and I can't I have meetings that I'm like, I can hardly, I have to be careful how I share about them, but I've been called into situations where somebody is just like not a believer at all, and they're asking me for, I don't know what to do. I have no, my life has no meaning. I don't know what to do with my family problems,
Hmm.
and and had a group of individuals who were funding us, and they were disappointed with the fact that we were Christian, but they loved the work we were doing. And then I sat with one of the individuals and who was on the committee, and he says, we're giving you all this money, but we're not happy. And he says, I'm involved in this and I'm not happy. And so we had this, I said, well, why are you giving money to our organization?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we think youth should have, have purpose, and have, they
Yeah.
should have something.
Yeah.
They should deserve it, kind of thing. And I said, well, why do they deserve it?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, because he started to formulate his thoughts around that, because every kid deserves that. Well, why does every kid deserve that? I kind of got
Hmm.
sassy with it,
Yeah.
and I kind of asked for permission to be blunt.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I said, well, I think you have a theological problem. You are doing what matters to the heart of God, and you don't even know it.
Hmm.
You are pleasing the heart of God, and you're not even attributing it to that.
Hmm.
And that thing inside of you that wants to do good for kids, that's all to do with that Genesis 1 Imago Dei. Because you believe they're made in the image of God, but you don't even know you believe that.
Yeah.
There's no way you'd work as hard as you're working if you were just doing it for good feelings,
Yeah.
because he's not feeling that good.
Yeah.
And so just seeing, and now we're in like weekly contact, and we call each other brother now. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what that means,
Have
but I love the guy and I love this group.
you taken him
And
to church yet?
no,
No.
no,
Have you invited him to church?
no,
How
not
come?
yet.
How come?
That's a great question. I
You don't like the church?
I love the church. I
Yeah.
love the church. I have a theory that, sometimes we're tempted to give somebody a whole pearl necklace.
Yeah.
But I'm really all about like the one pearl.
Hmm.
And we've had a lot of beautiful conversations, and I look forward to more of those.
Yeah.
And at some point, church will be a part of that. But at this point in the journey, I'm not the kind of guy that really pushes on that.
So
Yeah.
there's a reason why I asked that question. I was at church last week, the week before last actually, and then somebody was there that I know, and I noticed him coming, and we talked to him a few times, and he's bringing his family, he's bringing his parents now, he's
Yeah.
bringing his brothers and sisters, but he just started coming.
hmm
And I talk to him all the time. Me and Tim have talked to him all the time. We went out for lunch last weekend, a couple weekends ago, and he goes, "Greg, like I'm coming to church now, but I'm wondering, like, why didn't you ever invite me to church?" And I said to him, I'm
Ouch.
like, "I know, right?" It hurt for a second, just for 1 second. But I said to him, I said, "The reason why I didn't invite you was because if you weren't ready, you would have said no. And then it would have been harder for me to get you to come to church. Whereas if me and Tim and anybody else comes into your life and we show our difference in our belief systems, we show our belief systems in the way we act, the way we work, we share it on social media, we share it amongst like you do through your Inner City Youth Alive, eventually you're going to question. You're going to say, why does that guy have peace? Why is that guy the way he is? I should investigate that a little bit more.
That sounds like wisdom, but it could be cowardice.
Could be. But you also
and I
haven't
think
invited.
you pointed it out on me.
Well,
and I'm
but
saying it
that's
right
why I
back at
asked
myself.
you.
Maybe I'm,
Yeah.
you know, I might just be a coward.
But it's
and
tough.
in fairness, you can't get everything right all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I was just at a funeral today, and they were saying this person was a great person. Did they get everything right? No.
Right.
Do you get everything right? No. But do you
Mhm.
beat yourself up about it? No. Do you try harder the next time? Yes. And everyone has different personalities. Greg is very good at talking to people. His wife too. They talk to people. They are very good about bringing people back. But not every personality is the same. You are with relationship. You're not Greg. Whereas
Yeah.
you can't compare the two. I don't think. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, I think, you know, this is another topic, but I think that our church is relevant enough in this cultural moment
Mm-hmm.
to kind of have that invitational vibe kind of pushed out into society.
Yeah.
You know, the way it is now. I don't know. I
You're
sometimes
comfortable bringing people there.
when I have an awesome church, but I always kind of participate with the eyes of all my friends, and I have so many secular friends and so many
Yeah.
atheist friends, and my community ministry team, they sometimes say they're pastors to a bunch of people who don't go to church,
Yeah.
and so, but at the same time, you know, we had 2 baptisms in the Red River this last October, just before the ice came in, and these are guys who are former gang members, and
Mhm.
so it's a bit of messy church, and
Yeah.
I'm, like I said, the same principle that I apply to kids in our community is I'm not here for the short term. Obviously, I'm here for 40 years. I'm here
Yeah.
for the long term,
Yeah.
and with my friends who don't go to church, I'm here for them in the long term. And
Yeah.
at some point, that might be right, and I just have to feel that out. And I appreciate the challenge, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just like the only reason why I asked is because it was asked of me,
it's a fair
right?
question.
You know, why didn't you invite me? And it hits
Yeah,
because our pastor always says, like, one day I'm going to go to heaven and I'm going to see all these people that I brought
hmm
through either my teachings, my invitations, or through, you know, if I was pastoring to Kent and Kent brought somebody, like, it's all a line, right? And it's
Yeah.
all a chain together. So if we have that kind of effect, what can we do by just simply saying, like, hey, you should join me? Or what I do is I'll share messages and I'll share different different things that I've learned through the year from my pastor and everything. We had one of our guests on, and she doesn't go to church, but she is interested in it. So I'll just send messages that I think will resonate. And
It's funny. We talk to people like you. We have people that have varying different degrees of what they believe in, and not everybody believes in God or Jesus. But I don't think we've talked to anybody who disrespects that.
no,
Most of them are interested. They may not be where they want to be to come to church or to come to faith in whatever way they think it's relevant. But for the most part, you know, it's respectful, and they don't distrust that we're.
Mhm.
And I think probably the same thing along your lines as well, right?
Yeah, Jesus is hard to say no to.
Mhm.
I mean, the beauty of his life and kind of what he offers, it resonates for people. And yeah, I think, you know, I just I often I have a couple of words for a season. And lately, as I've been praying about kind of this cultural moment, um, 2 words: get ready.
Mhm.
I feel like something simmering below the surface, and I guess we're seeing some exciting stuff happening out in the UK, where a sort of a surprising sort of rebirth in the belief in God, and
Yeah.
young people coming to church. So there's things that are happening that I don't think happen because of some strategic plan or something. I think
No.
God is moving, and I'm just trying to figure out how I can move with God and
Yeah.
how we can be, ready. Like, can you imagine? Here we are. Like I said, if you believe this to be true, the materialist vision has died. Atheism has got nothing to offer. Are we ready for what could happen?
Hmm.
Our church is ready to open their doors and will people find a home?
Yeah,
That's great.
I hope so.
that's awesome.
So we have some. We're gonna finish light here a little bit.
Very light.
for the
Rapid
most
fire.
part.
Favorite color? Red.
Red.
I don't know
Wow,
why.
Red is your favorite
psycho.
color? Mine's blue. Blue and pink.
Blue. I like pink. Yeah. I'm gonna go with pink.
Yeah, he's a pink guy.
All right.
His phone's pink.
My phone is
Awesome.
pink, although it's called it's another name for it. What's it? Peony.
Pe-
Peony.
peony. Peony.
Peony. I
No,
think
it's
it's pronounced
peony.
peony.
As in the flower.
The peony.
Yeah.
Peonies.
Peony.
It's a
I'm
peony.
pretty sure it's peony.
He doesn't know how to pronounce
So,
it.
so we have a game. It's called This or That. The rules
Okay.
are very simple. You can pick one or the other, but you have to pick one.
You're getting
of them.
good at the rules, by the way.
What's that?
You're getting good at the rules.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. I've done it a few times. And
Can I pass?
No, that's part of the rules. You cannot pass.
He was just about to say that.
And also, and Greg legally makes me say this part, but when we pick one, the other one goes away for good. So if we ask you your favorite child, the other two children that you don't pick, they cease
Please
to
don't
exist.
ask me that. I
It
told
is-
all my kids they were my
it is
favorite child.
definitely not on the list.
We never do that to you.
However, just to,
Unless you only had 2 children, then we'd do a this or that for them.
Well,
Yeah,
let's do it.
we don't have their names anyway.
Do you want to
Uh,
start?
I will. No, you start. This is your favorite question.
This is my favorite one. Apple or Android?
Apple.
That's right.
Well, okay.
And
Oh,
just-
so the answers can be correct or incorrect.
That's right.
Depending on who you're talking about.
A lot of these questions are Greg or Tim.
All Apple.
So all Apple. Perfect.
All right, fair
Yeah.
enough. Not saved, but would you rather sit on a beach for 8 hours, or would you like to join me climbing a mountain?
I'd like to climb a mountain.
All right, there you go.
No.
One for two.
Okay.
I don't sit still very well.
When you go for coffee, when you go for breakfast, where do you go?
We go to Smitty's.
Smitty's.
Yeah.
Okay, you coffee guy?
I love coffee. I'm a coffee snob.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay. We
go
might
ahead
know
with
the
that
answer to
next
this
one.
question. You can only pick one: Tim Hortons, McDonald's, or Starbucks.
Coffee.
Starbucks.
Wow.
Coffee snob. See,
He's
it is
independently wealthy, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Social media preference, is it Facebook or Instagram?
Facebook. I'm 60.
Well, you are at a certain age.
Yes,
so-
yes.
And you can explain anything that you want to explain, but movie styles, romance, action, or comedy.
I guess action. I don't like watching movies that are just sort of like kind of just a lame plot. I actually like documentaries more.
Okay.
I like to learn when I'm watching a movie. So
Yeah. Documentaries are.
What's
Yeah.
your guilty pleasure for a documentary style? I'll tell you mine. I like mafia.
yeah, I'm
trivia
just
stuff.
watching
True crime.
a mafia series right now.
Really?
Sadly, I'm always going down the inner city kind of theme. So Breaking Bad, yes, guilty as charged. Ozarks, all that.
Ozark was so
I'm
good.
just- I'm always trying to learn about how things work.
There you go.
Yeah, Ozark was really good. I think you got the next one, Tim.
Never watched it though, but
You never watched it?
there's so many shows that I
True
haven't
enough.
watched that are probably very good.
Have you done Mr. Mercedes yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I just started that. I'm on season 1, episode 4, but it's really good.
I'm on The Wire right now.
Okay,
And I
didn't
mean,
do that
I've-
one yet.
You haven't watched it. You have to watch it. It's
Okay.
it's on Crave right now, and yeah, it's to do with gangs and inner city settings and how policing and gangs work. And that's
So you're inside of this
Ah,
serious
I know.
topic, but when you go to
what
relax,
I do
you
for
go
a
back
break.
into it.
or I read about the history of the Hells Angels. You know,
Wow, that's
Uh,
crazy. I would have thought you'd watch some Billy Madison.
I
movie
know.
To get the
My wife sometimes tells me I'm kind of too deep into it.
All right, fair enough. Would you like to go out for a vacation, or would you rather just stay in for a staycation?
Out for a vacation. Yeah, we're about to head to Melbourne, Australia,
Nice.
and I am looking forward to that. Just get away from
See your
all this.
daughter there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Do you have any time in early March? Do you want to come on a spring training trip to Phoenix?
Baseball.
I'm gone.
Okay, all right.
I'm
That-
gone till
that's
the
his way
17th of March.
saying
You got the next one.
Netflix and chill or dinner out?
I'm 60, but I do understand that I'm just going to go with Netflix,
Okay.
not the and chill part.
Well, we were trying to get your kids asked us to ask that one, so that's crazy.
It's really crazy. Are you a night owl or are you early morning riser?
Early morning riser, 4 a.m.
4
5
a.m.
Even now?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I sometimes sleep in until like 5:30.
Holy
But yeah, I
smokes.
like early
On
mornings.
because you need to, or that's just a habit?
I just never set the alarm. I'm always up early.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, this one's a new one, Tim. I don't know if you've seen this one yet.
I just see it right there.
Fight 50 mouse-sized bears or one bear-sized mouse.
That's easy.
50 bears, mouse-sized bears.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have a nightmare about a bear-sized mouse. First of all, I'm scared. I'm not scared of mice. I hate mice, but one that's the size of a bear?
I know, but he said he'd rather fight 50 mouse-sized
I mean,
bears.
I can't imagine a mouse
Oh,
that big.
That's just that's
And,
gross.
I'm
Oh.
afraid I will be thinking about that as I
yeah.
drift off
You're
tonight.
gonna wake up at 2 instead of 4.
I know. I know. Another night terror.
No.
Okay. All right, and then this is. And by the way, I can't. I can only take one right now of those two.
Yeah, okay.
So I have an excuse. But would you rather? Are you a bath person, or are you a shower person?
I'm a shower person. Baths take too long.
We're renovating our shower right now, so that I only have one option. So I have an
But
excuse.
well, you only bath anyway.
That was sort of a passive way to ask for help.
yeah.
You know I'm handy. I could.
I'm gonna start coming to the Friday breakfast now because of my bath situation. And your turn.
Oh, right. I get this one. Conservative or liberal?
Well, we have a third party. We have a third party.
Well, they're
He
both
can't
the
pass
same.
that. He just can't give his political.
I don't think he's
ideology.
allowed to do this.
I got to be careful. I'm
Yeah.
politically fluid.
Fluid. Okay. We actually had LOL just kidding.
You're
beside
politically
it, so-
curious.
We didn't actually want you to answer that one, but if you
Thank you.
happened to, it would have been fun.
And
Um,
and if I always get you got that one. If I always get the Apple and Android and nobody agrees with me, then this is the one where nobody agrees with
me.
Mr. Greg.
Yeah.
You could have one super power. Is it the ability to fly, or is it being invisible?
I would like the power of flight.
Of course, and that's what 99% of our guests say because it's just creepy to be invisible. Creepy.
Yeah, it feels wrong.
It's
But
just-
to fly and be invisible,
Yeah.
that would be next level.
You can't have both.
You can't have
Again,
both.
you can't. That's part of the
Yeah, that's
rules.
fair.
We got to follow along here. If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, historical, anything you want, and have a 20-minute conversation over dinner, just one person.
Thomas Sowell. He's a Harvard economist, African American, brilliant man. And now you know I'm a little bit conservative.
And dead or alive? Is he dead or alive?
He's alive.
He's
And
alive?
yeah,
So there's a chance.
he's
Have you
90.
had
He's
dinner?
brilliant. I've read his books. He's a great thinker.
But you've never met him yet.
Never met him. No.
And where does he live?
Somewhere in the U.S. I don't even know.
Well, what's stopping
Well, if
him?
you're gonna stalk him,
I
you
know,
have to
right?
where he lives.
Well, he's taking very few interviews.
Oh, okay.
And everybody's after him. because
Yeah.
He's real smart.
And a surprise guest on our next episode is never mind.
Thomas Sowell.
Probably
You
exactly.
forgot his name, did you?
I totally forgot his name. So, top 3 places in Manitoba to go on a date with your wife. It could be a restaurant. It could be a location. Top 3. Go.
Brazen Hall, love it. Let's see. There's a little place in the Exchange District. Oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. It's a little breakfast place. Below ground, nice little kitschy little spot whose name I'm forgetting now.
Okay.
But your listeners can search that up.
Kitschy breakfast place, below ground, Exchange District.
Yeah,
It's like a speakeasy. We don't speak its name.
Yeah.
yeah, and then I go for bread and butter on Stella's. That's it's an old favorite. So, are we allowed to go? Naming names?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you said Brazen Hall.
Fair enough.
He's
That
a
was-
Hazen Ball.
If I had forgotten all of the names, that would
Trying
have
to rhyme things.
I
Hazen Ball.
Stella's
Hinting.
is really good.
Yeah.
Stella's is really good. And those are the top 3 places in Winnipeg.
That's my opinion.
And then Smitty's on Fridays.
Well, yeah, and we did Smitty's for the longest time, and then there's another little place called Bay. That's where
Yes.
we've been lately. And that's like
Right behind the Dairy Queen there.
yes, that's like a trip into the past,
Okay.
the
Really?
70s.
I'll have to try that.
On Fridays.
Maybe Thursday.
Keep your distance.
Maybe Fridays. Maybe
It
Saturdays.
gets kind of rowdy.
We can bleep out the name of that restaurant so people don't show up there.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. The last question that we have for you, and this gets you off the hook for anything else, and anything else after this, you can just tell us on the record because of everything. No, we'll turn off the recordings.
Oh, we say we will anyway.
All right. I didn't sign anything. I didn't really agree in it.
Camilla did. It's all
Okay,
good.
she did, eh?
Yeah, she signed it for you.
Camilla.
What would one piece of advice that you'd want to give to anybody out there right now that you think would be something that would help them through these times?
One piece of advice. That's such a hard question to end on. I think sort of kind of be two. Faith and family. Those two things kind of mix really, really closely together. And I'm increasingly, as I get older, realizing that, when I'm done and I hang up the skates completely, all I have is my family. And what'll carry me through, because nobody lives forever, is my faith. And so I would say, don't let go of those two things: your family and your faith.
Awesome.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Kent. It was a pleasure to have you in the studio.
Fantastic to have you here. And thanks for all the work that you're doing with ICYA, with the Absent Project, with the documentary. So that's linked below once again. So if you want to watch the documentary, super easy. Click the link. It's on YouTube.
Under an hour. So
it's 52 minutes. Very well done. Also, if you want to find out more about what Inner City Youth Alive is, we've got all their links below as well, and more stuff about Kent as well below. So if you want to learn about them and want to learn about what they're doing here in the city, that would be where you'll find it.
And if, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comments on this video, any other videos that we've done for interviews in the past. Yeah,
that's right. Thanks for watching again. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week. We have a special guest next week.
We do have a special guest.
You had one this week.
We had a special guest today too.
Are
you saying he's not special?
Next week, I'm just letting listeners know right now.
Right now,
Kent is a very special guest.
Very extra special.
Very special guest. But this one's going to be interesting.
It will be interesting. Yeah.
Thanks again. Thanks, Kent.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Sharing is caring.